Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unreadable. We're not even going to say a number. This is just our
No,
Unreadable update.
we're not going to
Uh,
say a number.
we're not going to say a number because I pretty much lost track, and it doesn't even matter at this point because we've written this thing called The End. The End, which is,
And now the beginning.
uh, yeah. And so part of what we want to talk about today is, first of all, CJ was able to write the last chapter. I was sort of jealous, but I'm also, just kind of like, we needed to finish it out.
We
And that's the way
needed to
things were
get it done.
working.
We met our
Yeah.
deadline. I said that in the last video, but we did.
Yeah.
The deadline was November 15th. We totally nailed it.
We nailed our deadline. And this is
Yeah,
because we have a
we really
pre-order
did.
coming up January 15th, which means that we have to speed up the editing process probably a little more than we normally would, maybe a little more than we would normally like to have
Please.
time for. However, because we set ourselves this ridiculous deadline months ago, we have to do it. And because that's got to give us time to put our formatting together. We've revised the cover so that we have the new cover that no longer says a Plotter Workshop novel, since this is no longer a Plotter Workshop novel. But anyway, so we've changed that, and we've got things ready and rolling, but we have to start kind of like we tell you guys all the time. We say, well, when you write the end, then you start the revision process. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do, how we're going to do the revision process before we turn this over to an editor. So let's talk about that a little bit, CJ. Where are we going to start, and what are we going to do?
We're going to start at the beginning, and we're each going to take a swing at each chapter, going through it and revising, looking at what we teach you guys to do, which is, the plot and structure, the character development, the dialogue, the pacing. We're going to be looking at elements of passive voice. Are we telling instead of showing? Are there we're going to be looking at all of it. As editors, we know what to look for, but what's kind of nice is that we're going to be editing chapters also that we didn't write, because we'll edit the ones we did write and edit the ones we didn't write, which is nice because it gives us I think it gives us a little perspective, more so than if we had just one person had written that book. So we're going to be looking at all of those issues and being brutal with ourselves because we need to. And just also checking for continuity, because neither one of us have read through this thing.
Yeah.
And there may be some continuity issues, some consistency problems. It would not surprise me if there are, where we're like, wait, we said this in this chapter, but then I wrote this in this chapter. So, and we've already picked up on a few of those things towards the end there, but we're going to need to identify that moving forward.
Yeah, that is interesting, because even though, like, usually before I wrote the next chapter, I would read your chapter or whatever. Like, I have not sat and just read the whole thing all the way through, which is usually my first step when I'm in revisions. And so that's kind of where I'll probably start, although I'll have, full transparency, we use Pro Writing Aid. If you have another program you like better, that's fine. Personally, I feel like Pro Writing Aid is better set up for novel writing than Grammarly or some of the other programs are. And reason being, Grammarly tends to default more towards AP type style and that type style of writing, which is more blog writing and technical writing and stuff like that, which is fine. All of that is good. But, it's sometimes with fiction, it kind of messes things up. Especially, so fortunately also, as CJ was saying, we're both editors. So we know how to edit anyway. We'll be editing chapters that we didn't write, as well as going over chapters we did write, which gives us a broader perspective. And we know when grammar tools are wrong, because they're not always right. Or sometimes they tend to take away your writer voice or things like that. And so we're going to use those tools, but I want you guys to understand those are just tools. Don't ever take what they say as gospel and just change everything that thing tells you to change, because there are times when Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid will disagree, and then Microsoft Word will say something else entirely. But But anyway, so that's that's just an aside. Those are tools. Tools are tools. They're not people. So you still need those human eyeballs on things. So once we're done with that, we'll be sending it off to an editor. Is there anything else you want to talk about related to that?
Just please do have someone once you do some, self-editing and you go through your book again and you get it as tight and as polished as you can. That doesn't mean you can skimp on giving it to an actual editor. And that does not mean your mom, unless your mom is an actual editor. Okay. The amount of times
Yes.
I've had clients tell me, well, my mom read it. And I'm like, that's great. She is an editor? No. And I'm waiting. I'm waiting for, but she did this or she has experience with this. And there is no follow-up there. Nothing comes after
Yeah.
that. Like, okay. I think it's great
Yeah.
that your mom read it. And I love that she loved it. My mom loved my books too, but you need an
Yeah.
editor. So don't
Yes.
avoid that. You need a professional editor to go through it and spot the things that you didn't spot. Identify problems that you may have kind of known were there, but you're married to it and you don't want to kill your darlings. And so you need someone else to tell you to kill them. Okay. So please make sure you get that editor.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, I've had people say the same thing, or my mom is an English teacher, or my friend is an
Right.
English teacher. And I'm like, what grade?
What?
What does she do? Because there have been those times when you
First
get those
grade?
manuscripts and you're like, oh my, I'm not sure who that people have seen this. Oh, that's interesting.
That's funny.
But yeah, so I mean, it does happen. I mean, now we happen to have obviously we have good friends that are editors. We have a good friend who's prepared, we hope, to edit this for us and get it done fairly quickly. Another thing is to keep in mind, though, is like picking who your editor is based on genre, but also based on like there's some language in our book. I think that's mostly CJ's fault. But
Yeah,
um,
I will
uh,
take the blame all the way. Oh, the potty mouth on me sometimes. That is
oh
not great.
man. But yeah, no. So I mean, you have to take into account whether your editor is okay with that type of stuff. I mean, don't hire a children's book editor to edit your adult romantic fiction or your steamy romance. I mean, um, now you know what I mean. Like this is just like both of us have genres and things that we edit that we like better than others. Everybody kind of has them. I do a lot of romance because I used to work for a romance publisher. So I like doing romance and I like editing romance and I know how and I'm pretty good at it. But there's some romance that I'm like, I don't think so. So, you just kind of have to gauge your editor by that type of stuff as well. So obviously we've done that. We're working through that process. We're working through that self-editing process. And if you've seen some of our things before, and we'll be talking about this early next year or somewhere around then, we'll have a revision summit and we'll really go in depth and have some other speakers come in and go in depth about how to revise your fiction, like how to do some things yourself before you hand it to an editor. But one thing I always tell people is if you can go through it with a grammar checker, pick your favorite grammar checker, know what the rules are so that it doesn't just throw you off, but send it through that before you send it to an editor. Your editor will be eternally grateful for you for taking that extra step and also for taking the extra step of just reading through it, that type of thing. So, and then there's one more thing that we can talk about really quickly that we're going to start working on. We haven't worked on it a lot so far, but that is called marketing. So, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do in that regard, CJ. I know we've got some plans for some cool merch and stuff like that surrounding this book, but
Yes.
let's talk about marketing a little bit.
Well, I think the cool merch part had more to do with the tattoo. And we really wanted to capitalize on that, and come up with ways in which we could make that something that would be fun for you guys. So we were thinking about an actual card deck, um, Troy can explain this better because he understands the code better. So why don't you explain it? Because
Oh,
this was your grand idea. You are the mastermind
yeah.
behind this
So
one.
we're going to have some merchandise. So we actually have, so I have another series of stories that also use the story code, the solitaire code, and that are coming out next year. which means decks of cards. Decks of cards around the solitaire code are just really cool. Well, the tattoo that Harper has that CJ may get at any moment is once we design it is based around the solitaire code, and so it has a deck of cards, but part of things are not visible until it's hit with a UV light, and that's only giving away a small part of the story, and we kind of talked about that before. But we actually have a printer who can print with UV light. So we're going to have some cool decks of cards that will have the image of the tattoo, and then you'll have to use a blue light to see the rest of the tattoo and the rest of the code. So we may have some other merchandise around that too, if you guys end up being interested in those type of things, maybe some posters and things like that surrounding Unreadable. But I think there's probably some other merchandise and things that we can do. But all of this is a part of, kind of our overall marketing strategy to get the word out about this book and the things that we're doing. Because the other thing we didn't mention about the ending is we did end it in such a way that this can be a series. And it more than likely, CJ and I will continue to write together simply because we can and we enjoy it. So, any other marketing things you want to talk about, CJ, besides that merch?
I think we were thinking about Facebook ads, but I hate to actually say that because I hate them so much.
Yeah.
Ah, I hate
Yeah.
them with a fiery passion, and I don't think I'm alone in this because so many authors either you hire out, which is so expensive most of the time, or you just learn the ding dang thing yourself. And Facebook, fortunately, has changed some things so that it's a little bit better, but meh, that's some stuff
Yeah.
that we're going to be looking into.
Yeah.
Um,
If we're going to
lamenting.
sell direct, we'll probably sell direct from a website, probably my
Yeah.
website at this point because it's already set up for that. But when we do that, yeah, we'll probably have to run some Facebook ads. We'll probably run some Amazon ads at some point,
Mhm.
and maybe some other ads if we run some sales and things like that and do some promo stacking. And as we do those things, we'll probably kind of report on them as part of Plot Geek Academy to let you know, hey, we tried this thing and either it sucked or it didn't, whatever the case may be. So we'll keep you guys posted on some things like that. And what we decide to do for marketing, we'll probably put an overall marketing plan together. We need
Mhm.
to do some of that for some of our other books anyway. But we're really working on, kind of a completely new strategy. For those of you who didn't know, or didn't understand how much it had an impact, but Plotter really threw both of us into kind of a spiral and a loop where we've had to reset a lot of the things that we were doing before. And really, honestly, what I'm looking at with my business plans and stuff is going back to what things were like pre-Plotter for me. But that was 5 years ago. So things were different in the marketplace then. So this really is a huge reset for us. And we're trying to make that transition, obviously, as smooth as possible. But we do have challenges that are involved with that. And part of that is coming at a brand new book written by two co-authors and figuring out exactly what we're going to do to move the needle on that and move the marketing forward. We're excited about that, but at the same time, this is probably the biggest challenge that all authors face is marketing, and so we're going to face it together, and we'll just tell you about it as it happens. So,
And hopefully that will help you guys as you move forward, understanding what you should be doing or not doing, depending on what you're writing. So
yeah.
hopefully it helps.
Anyway, all right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. We know we got a little, I don't know, off topic, long winded. Super surprised about that.
Yeah, shocker.
But we will keep you appraised. We're still going to keep doing these updates. They might not be exactly weekly, but as we go through the revision process, we send the book off to the editor. We start formatting the print cover and things like that, probably reworking our blurb a little bit. We have a blurb, but we can probably make it a little better now that the book is written, some things like that. So as we do those things, we'll keep you guys updated. We'll let you know how that's going, how we're doing it, how that's working out for us. And hopefully that gives you some ideas of how to do some with your own work as well. When you're in the same situations that we are and you're finishing up a book, but hey, you're not even done yet. The work has really just begun. So, yeah. Any last words, CJ?
No, just jazzed to be
Uh,
here.
oh, yes. She's like jazz to be here. Oh, yeah.
Enthused.
Enthused, super enthused. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining us. We love it. We like being real with you guys. And we will see you within a couple weeks with some more updates on Unreadable. Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.